Good afternoon and welcome to Young Achiever Academy. Today we will be talking about language and speech developmental delay. Notably, language and speech are skills we use to communicate to each other. However, developmental delay may have occurred and the child may not reach their normal developmental milestone at a specific age. I assure you, we here at Young Achiever Academy will ensure that your child is treated with respect and aim to develop the child delay. Additionally, explanation of the type of developmental delay observed will be discussed. Further on in this presentation, my colleagues will provide sample of the assessment tool used to assess the child developmental delay. Also, reason for using these tools and how often they were used in relation to language and speech. Two strategies will be given to the parents to support the developmental delay. Particularly, we will discuss the challenges the child faces during this delay and make recommendations as how to fix this issue. Finally, we will refer the parents to two institutions where they will get more information to assist their child. Good afternoon, Miss Charles.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to Young Achiever Academy. I am the administrator here, Miss Anne-Marie Park. My staff is also present at this meeting. The reason this meeting was called is to discuss the developmental delay we have observed with your child in relation to language and speech.
Thank you so much for having me, Miss Park. Now, I would love for you to explain to me some of the developmental delays that you have observed in my son, Nicholas, in relation to language and speech. Could you do that for me kindly?
Sure, not a problem. At this age, he's not talking as he should. He's not able to give a feedback of a story that was done in class. He has
Mm-hmm.
difficulty following directions.
Mm.
Additionally, his pronunciation and articulation of words is very poor,
Mm.
and he also has difficulty putting words together in a sentence.
Right, right. Thank you so much for sharing that with me, Miss Park.
You're most welcome, Miss Charles. I will now hand over to Shanice.
I will now discuss with you the assessment tools used to assess Nicholas's language development. A running records an effective observation technique to assess Nicholas's language development. According to Allen and Daldry, 2013, a running record is a factual detailed account written over a span of time in which actions are described and quotes are recorded as accurately as possible. As consequently, we observe what Nicholas did and said using direct quotes and spelling the words as they sounded. Thus, the running records created a well-rounded picture of Nicholas's behavior and development. The objective of the running record was to record his speech pattern and ability to understand speech and gestures in order to evaluate his language skills. One of the formal assessment tools is the Bailey Scales of Infant and Toddler Development 4th edition. According to Carter and Del Carmen Wiggins 2019, the Bailey Scales of Infant and Toddler Development is an assessment instrument designed to measure motor cognitive language, social emotional and adaptive behavior development in young children. It involves interaction between the child and the teacher and observation in a series of tasks. As with other assessments, these tasks range from basic responses to complex responses. The language scales measure Nicholas's ability to understand and use spoken language to label objects or people, follow instructions, or recognize objects based on spoken directions or label. Nicholas's score was rated and totaled on each task. The raw scores were compared to the tables of the scores from other children Nicholas's age. This allows us to determine if Nicholas has developmental delays, judge how significant they are, and assist in developing an appropriate early intervention program for him. The next formal assessment tool was used is the Fluharty Preschool Speech and Language Screening Tool. This tool was created by Nancy Fluharty and is based on Foster 1990 Model of Language Development, Current Development Research, Paul and Newberry 2007. It is widely used as a screening tool that provides rapid identification of children aged 3 to 6 for whom a complete speech and language assessment is warranted. Moreover, the assessment tool allows us to identify if Nicholas has development delays if further assessment is warranted, and to provide critical information on Nicholas's articulation language, expressive language, and composite language, to identify Nicholas's weaknesses and strengths so that educators are able to provide intervention and support services. It also provides educators with in-process feedback about Nicholas's language development so that approaches, teaching materials, and academic support can be modified accordingly. It also provides between a common ground for you, Nicholas's parents, and the educators in collaborating a strategy to support Nicholas's development. I will now hand you over to Paulette Williams.
Thank you so much, Shanice, for expounding so well on assessment tools. I will explain how often they were used and in what situations. Running records used daily to record Nicholas' language development during spontaneous opportunities, targeted opportunities, and prompt opportunities. The flexibility of the running record make it easy to administer informally and on the fly when needed. Secondly, the Fluharty screening was administered to Nicholas. The target areas were phonological process errors, voice qualities, and fluency. Then determined Nicholas requires more comprehensive language evaluation. As a result, an age-appropriate early intervention was developed for him. This assessment was a one-time assessment. Lastly, the Bailey Scales of Infant and Toddlers Development Assessment was used for determining Nicholas' developmental delays. It provided a valid and reliable measures of his ability, in addition to giving comparison data for children. His growth score was used to chart his progress, and it was also useful in instrumental evaluation, monitoring of progress outcome measurement. In the light of such, the Bailey Scales of Infants and Toddlers were initially administered to evaluate Nicholas' language development and re-administered in a span of 2 months to track his growth in the language domain based on modified teaching approaches. The Bailey's test usually takes an hour after completing a set of developmentally tasks with Nicholas. The tests were administered during promoted activities in a setting with little or no distraction. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the information that you have shared with me thus far. Now, I want to know, how can I support, as a parent, the development of the delay in relation to language and speech in my son, Nicholas?
I'm glad you asked that question. Encouraging language and speech development is essential to preschoolers. as teachers and parents, we should provide opportunities for children to speak and listen through conversation and practical activities. The best way to support your child is to be a model of good speech and language skills. Therefore, I will give you two strategies that will develop language and speech, and they are pretend play and reading regularly. Pretend play with your child. This will help develop language, literacy, and speech skills. For Nicholas, using words in role playing is essential, and new words will also be developed. Assist him to make up stories, and he will develop the skill to understand books and to read aloud. Pretend play to develop speech. Allow Nicholas to lead the play, take cues from him, and try not to take control. Encourage the conversation as you play together. For example, the child is going to the grocery. Ask him, do you have your list of items already that you need to buy? And you can build a conversation with that because he will list these things that he already have, or he will list things that he will need to get on when he goes to shopping. All right, now with reading, read to him regularly. Point to the words as you read to him, ensuring to talk about the title, the author, and that will be able to understand the concept of books. Reading to develop speech. Use the story to connect to Nicholas' own life or ideas and promote the story's understanding. As you link the story by asking him, does Jim bicycle remind you of your bicycle? What color is your bicycle? And so on. So these are two strategies. And what are these two strategies again? Yes, reading and pretend play. So do use these as I explained to you, and do give us feedback. Give the teachers feedback so that we can know how else we can assist. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Greta Alves Malcolm, and I'll be talking about long-term challenges if the speech and the language delay is not addressed, and an institution in my country that they can be referred to. Speech and language delay refers to when a child is not developing speech, which is the actual sound of talking at an expected rate. Also, they cannot talk in short sentences or tell a simple story by 4 to 5 years of age. What is speech and language delay? No date, and also no date. Language delay that is identified from an early age and is left untreated until school age may put the child at significant risk for long-term challenges. Some of the long-term challenges are persistent language problem. The child is not able to speak intelligently and with clarity. Hence, the lack in grammatical utterances and appropriate grammatic morphemes are evident. Rescora and Schwartz, as cited in Tishbina and Eric's 2007. Another challenge is socialization. Because the child cannot master phonemes and morphemes, the academic skills are affected and therefore thwart receptive and expressive vocabulary, thus making it difficult for the child to socialize. Riscora and Swartz are cited in Tishbina and Eric's 2007. Another challenge that the child will display is emotional and behavioral challenges, behavioral issues, because they cannot express themselves, because they are only producing a few words at a time, while their peers can say 100 words and even combine those words into phrases. They will display these emotional and behavioral attitude. Also, even when they are the transition between childhood and adulthood is affected when these language speech and language delay is not addressed. So there are a number of long-term challenges that can affect the child if the speech and language delay is not addressed. All of these challenges, when put together, they are termed as learning disability. Okay, institution in my country that I can refer the children to who are faced with these challenges are the early intervention program, the EIP, which is present in all primary schools, and the parents can are referred to. Teachers refer after observation. The children are referred to these areas. They work with both parents and children, and when the child get to a more higher age or in the high school level, they are referred to the special educational needs, which is the SEN department. And they also work and provide accommodation, they support them, and they counsel them in these two institutions. My justification is that the benefit of and services of these accommodation provided for children who are faced with several developmental um, areas, validate them as as ideal institution for recommendation. Thank you. I'll now turn over to
Thank you, Greta. In conclusion, language and speech are vital development in a child's life. This developmental delay must be dealt with promptly to avoid long-term challenges and provide parents with relevant strategies to rectify the delay. Besides, this will benefit the child and help practitioners to adequately provide support. Indeed, the running record, the Bailey Scale of Infants and Toddler Development Assessment Tool, and the Fluarty Preschool Speech and Language Screening Tools are effective instruments in measuring speech and language delay. These tools must provide or will provide valid, authentic results of the child's ability to reach his or her highest potential. This brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you.